Hey guys, how's it going? It's Baggins here, back with a big Realm Royale update. So, yesterday there was a patch update, or a live show video of a patch update with Drybear and Erez, or Erez Garin, who is, Drybear is the game director for Heroic Leap, who are the guys who develop Realm Royale, and also published by Hi-Rez, and the CEO of Hi-Rez. So some pretty big names when it comes to the development of Realm Royale, and they had a lot of interesting things to say about what we can expect in the near future with Realm Royale. So currently right now, at the time of recording, it's 20 past 8 p.m. on the 31st of August, Friday, 2018, and the PTS is not up yet, but the PTS, the public test server, is where all of these changes will be going live to, and I do hope that by the time I've finished recording what I'm saying here, these changes will actually be on the PTS server for me to play through, and I can show some gameplay during this video for you guys to see. So there's a lot of stuff to unpack and digest here, and I know you guys are probably gonna get pretty upset about a lot of these changes. I was too when I initially read about them as well, but I'm gonna explain the full lowdown in terms of what I've been thinking with like what each change means for the game and why they're trying to do it, and what it means for us as players and Realm Royale going forward in the future. Now, one thing that I'm sure is on a lot of people's minds and a lot of people are asking is, Baggins, did they talk about console? And the answer is, yeah, but they didn't really say anything. They're still working on it, so I'm sorry. If you're waiting for Realm Royale on the PS4 or Xbox, it seems like we're still gonna have to wait a little bit longer. I will have maybe a little bit more of a speculation onto when Realm Royale will be on Xbox or PS4 somewhat further on in the video, but basically the news is there's nothing official has been said yet. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's move into it. So I'm reading through this this patch rundown in a Reddit post, so there isn't anything official from Hi-Rez yet in terms of patch notes other than what these two guys have said. However, one of the Reddit users has like taken the time to sort of make notes on everything that he said. I did the same while the stream was live, but they seem to have gone a lot more in depth with their notes, so we're gonna go over these notes. I'll post the link to this in the description down below if you want to take a look through it yourself. But one of the first things they talk about is skill-based matchmaking being added to the game. Now, this is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. It's a good thing because matchmaking is good, you know? When you first jump into Realm Royale, you probably shouldn't be playing against me or, you know, a pro player, not to put myself on the same platform as a pro player, but, you know, like maybe the top 30% of players, they're generally gonna clean the floor with you when it comes to Realm Royale, just based on how much experience they have and their average win rate and how much better they are able to make use of the situation that they're in with weapons, positioning, abilities and stuff. So somebody who is newer to the game, somebody, you know, who is in like the bottom divisions when it comes to rank, not that rank necessarily means skill, but definitely, you know, newer players should probably only be put against people who have been playing like the first, you know, their first 10, 20 games as well. So if that's what this means, then that's good. However, looking right now at the player numbers for Realm Royale, we're not doing too hot. You know, if we're being completely honest, there's not a whole lot of people that are playing Realm Royale right now. So making the queue take longer by trying to find good matchups for other people. You know, if we take a look at something like Overwatch or League of Legends, obviously other games like Paladins as well, but typically in Paladins, the Paladins has a lot more players than Realm Royale does currently. I was waiting in the queue for sometimes 10 to 15 minutes to find a game that was in like high diamond to masters, and that was only to find 9 other players. So to find 90 other players at high diamond to masters in Realm Royale, a game that has less players, we're gonna be waiting in queue for a really long time, and that, obviously that is not fun at all. So how exactly they're gonna implement that matchmaking without making the queues take forever, we're just gonna have to wait and see. And, you know, spoilers for most of this video, it is gonna be, we'll just have to wait and see, will be the answer for a lot of these questions. But yeah, that's skill-based matchmaking. Number 2, and again, you know, we're going in pretty deep here, it's a bit of a doozy, classes removed from the game. You can now use any ability and any weapon you want. The class-specific skins are still usable, even though they won't belong to a specific class anymore. So there's no more mage, no more engineer, no more assassin, no more hunter, and no more warrior. Instead, everybody is the same class now, effectively. You're the every man or every woman. You can pick up any weapon you want and any ability you want, which initially scared me a lot, and I'm sure it scares a lot of you guys a lot, and I know some other content creators and streamers I respect a lot are also scared by this change. Because, you know, when we look at the trailers for Realm Royale, when we see the first one for PC and then for Xbox, they keep touting the game as this is class-based battle royale. You know, this game is all about a battle royale game that has classes in it. And, you know, when I try and sell this to people, when I was at Gamescom and I was talking to the stream and all the new players that would come along, I would say Realm Royale is a battle royale game, but it's got classes in it. You know, it's got like the classic archetypes, like the wizard, you know, the fireball wielding mage wizard, the warrior who has like an axe, and then you have the rogue, like an assassin, sneaky, stealthy, has a sniper rifle. That's all kind of going out of the window. But you'll now be able to make your own class effectively. You'll be able to mix and match any set of weapons or abilities or movement that you want, which the more I think about it, the more I actually do start to enjoy that idea. One of the biggest problems for me, and I think one of the biggest problems that Realm was going to face, you know, at any point, like whether it's now or further down the line, is how do you keep the game fresh? How do you keep like new content coming into it? You know, when you look at other games, not battle royales, but other games that have classes in it, stuff like Smite, League of Legends, Overwatch Paladins, how do they keep it fresh in there? Well, generally they keep adding new champions or new heroes, you know, new characters to the game. And I don't think you could keep doing that with Realm Royale. Like if, you know, we say it was planned that we were gonna add the Paladin and then maybe the Alchemist, then do we add the Warlock, do we add the Druid, do we add, you know, the mechanic? Like when does it stop? When do we have too many classes in the game? Because at some point there will be too many and it will get really complicated and messy, and you'll be killing people that you can't pick up their abilities. You know, you can't pick up their weapon. There'll only be like one of your class in the game that you can, you know, the other person that you can kill and actually pick up their weapons and abilities, and everything else you just have to leave on the ground. And I think for new players coming in as well, especially other battle royale players like Fortnite players and PUBG players, we're getting a little bit confused as to why you can't pick up this loot from somebody that you've killed, and it's because they're another class. And yes, that is like, well, you know, this is a different game, so they shouldn't expect it to be the same. But one of the problems that we saw with Realm Royale, and people keep talking about this, is Realm Royale lost 96% of its player base. A lot of that came in like the first week of Realm coming out. So we peaked at this 104,000 player, like, you know, 104,000 players online at the same time, and that's pretty crazy. But then it really rapidly went down. Like within the first week of hitting that 104,000, we'd already lost 40,000 players. But during that week, nothing bad really happened in Realm Royale. They didn't make any terrible patches. In fact, some of the best stuff happened during that week. They added solo queue. Like, you can play the game solo on your own, and the game was still losing players. That's just like baffling to me. Like the fact that the game was like, and what many people would say, you know, when people say like revert it back to how it was like in the first few weeks, i.e. the best period of Realm Royale, and they were only adding like content that people really, really wanted, like the ability to just play the game on your own without a friend or without 3 friends. It was still losing players at that point. That just speaks to me that there was a big problem with the game when it comes to just new players and casual players trying it out, and that it was just a bit too hard for them to get into maybe, or it wasn't casual friendly enough. And certainly that seems to be what we're seeing lately with Hi-Rez Studios, with Heroic Leap, the developers. What they seem to be trying to do with the Realm Royale is make it more casual friendly by removing some of these hard mechanics, like the chicken trophies, and now like the actual class system itself. Now, I do agree that there is a point where we strip so much of the game away that it just looks like every other game out there, but I do think this particular version that we have right now on the table in front of us is still going to be sufficiently different from PUBG, from Fortnite, from H1Z1, that it will still feel unique. Again, I'll have to actually play the game, and you guys will have to actually play the game to see if that's the case. But that's how I feel on the class system. I think I will miss it, but I maybe can understand, or I can understand why they did it and what the thought process is there. But, you know, obviously, like, this is just my opinion, and I'd super love to hear your guys' opinions in the comments down below on this and just everything else. All right, let's move on. Abilities are changing, so only 1 mobility slot and 1 ability slot, and you can mix abilities freely. So you can use Soar and Barricade or Blink and Fireball, but not Soar and Blink or Barricade and Turret, for example. So you get 1 like utility, like 1, you know, offensive or defensive ability, and then you get 1 movement ability. So some of the abilities have been recategorized in movement. For example, Withdraw is now going to be a movement ability. I believe Charge is going to be a movement ability. I'm sure there's a few others that I can't think of. Maybe Concussion Bomb. I'm not entirely sure on that one. But yeah, you're going to be able to get one movement ability and then one other ability like Firebomb, Barricade, Fireball, stuff like that. So this is where it gets a little bit weird, because when we look through the video, by the way, link to that in the description down below if you want to check it out. But when we look through the video where Drybear and Erez are talking about why they decided to remove the class system and make this change, it's because they were getting feedback from the players and in the surveys that people liked the ability part of Realm Royale. The main reason why people enjoyed Realm Royale and why they played it is because of the abilities. So they made a decision to remove one ability slot from everybody. That sounds a bit strange. You know, it's like we had 2 abilities and a movement ability, and you guys said you like the abilities, so we removed one. Yeah, that is a bit strange, and I mean, I am also a little bit upset about that as well. However, the justification for this is legendary abilities are much stronger now in general. One of the examples that they give is that when you use the turret ability, instead of dropping 1 turret on the ground at legendary value, it'll put 2 turrets on the ground. Now, how exactly this will work with every other ability, and whether it includes the movement abilities as well, we'll have to see. But at least there is some redemption for that. You know, it's like all the legendary abilities are going to feel super powerful now, hopefully, and maybe more like, you know, ultimate abilities that you're using instead of just like pretty good abilities. But yeah, that's maybe one that I'm not so happy about. Everything else so far I can kind of, you know, I'd see and I can support. Obviously there's a good and a bad side to it, but this one is like, I mean, I hope those legendary abilities are good, because I'm gonna miss, you know, not having 2 abilities in my movement ability. Armor pieces are being removed from the game. So no more helmets, chest pieces, gloves, and boots. Instead, we just have, from what I can tell from the gameplay, we just all have the flat same armor amount. I think it's 1,500 armor and 1,500 health. Now, previously, throughout the past few patches of Realm Royale, we've seen a lot of changes to how much armor gives you, you know, throughout the game, how much armor you start off with, the, you know, the effects, the scaling between common to legendary. And I think it was probably causing Hi-Rez a lot of issues based on how much they were trying to change it. So whether this is something they'll stick with, I don't know. I mean, the same can be said everything about this. They did stress a lot that this is not the final version of the game yet. This is a test. This is, you know, they want to see how this goes. But right now, armor is being removed from the game. And the passes that you would get from the armor, so like the headshot damage reduction, the faster movement speed on the mount, the health regen, they're going on to runes instead. So runes added instead of armor pieces, which are dropped in the world at a low rate. You can have 6 runes at a time, which will contain bonuses such as giving your chickens more health, increasing your headshot damage, or giving you armor per second. The runes can be gray, also common, through to legendary orange. I like the runes. The runes sound pretty cool. They sound pretty interesting. I think I've heard it confirmed that you can't stack multiple runes, so that's good, because if you could have 6 runes that increase the speed of your chicken, so you were moving at 180% faster with your chicken, that would be insane. But it seems like you can only have 1 of each rune. Now my concern is how much RNG there's going to be on these runes. You can craft them at the forge, but it's random which one it gives you. Speaking of randomness in the forge, they've also consolidated armor and ability into 1 slot as well. They've done this multiple times in the past, and it's very frustrating because sometimes you just want a legendary weapon, but you only have the choice to craft legendary weapon / ability, and you're hoping, your fingers crossed, like, come on, please give me a weapon, and then an ability flies out, and you've already got a legendary ability, and you're like, ah! So you go to the next forge, and you like, roll that dice again, and an ability flies out, and it's very frustrating to not have that decision, you know, not just have that, like, already the randomness is pretty high when we're putting all of the weapons in the same pool together. You know, you could get a legendary sword, or you could get a legendary plasma launcher, like, and you'll be able to use either of those now, regardless of whatever you're playing, because there's no classes. But now also, you could get a legendary sword, or you could get legendary wall, or you could get the legendary plasma launcher. That just feels like a bit too much RNG for me, so I would love to see them keep the ability pool and the weapon pool separate, because there's still probably some stuff that you don't want. And certainly if you've already got a legendary ability and you can only hold 1 legendary ability, then you don't want to be making more and more, like having the chance to get more and more. So yeah, that's a little bit frustrating. But the runes do sound pretty cool. I'm worried about the armor regen rune and how powerful that will be. Hopefully we're going to see them add back in more armor potions in terms of drop rate, because if everybody's going to be starting with 1,500 armor now, and there's still going to be a supreme, like a massive lack of armor potions in the game, then it's going to be really, really painful to fight somebody now. Like, you do not want to fight anybody at all until you're well geared, because all of that armor you lose is gone forever, unless you get one of these crazy runes that allow you to regen armor every second. So those are going to be really sought after, and I feel like potentially a little bit broken unless they increase the amount of armor potions that drop from chests and stuff. Window vaulting has been added. Anybody can jump through windows. This is an awesome change. The next few changes are actually really, really good. So window vaulting, you can, I'll show a little bit about on the video here. But yeah, anybody can jump through a window now. It's great. Previously only mage and assassin could do it, but obviously since the combination of all the classes, now everybody can go through a window. Yeah, there's no bad thing about this. It creates more dynamic fights. You're not just trapped in a building anymore. You can always go out. You maybe be able to enter into some buildings via the window. So this is a really great change, and I like it. Next change also really good in my opinion, although there are some spooky elements of it. Only projectile weapons available, no hit scan. So whether this means they're completely getting rid of the burst rifle, the SMG, the assault rifle, the shotgun, I don't know. Or maybe those weapons are just being converted into projectiles so the bullets will have travel time. We have seen it in the past where the assault rifle was in the game and it was a projectile weapon, so all the bullets, they did fly really fast, but it wasn't, you had to lead your shots, so everything was kind of like the slug rifle. There was no hit scan weapons. I did prefer this old version of the game, like when there was no hit scan. That was my favorite time in Realm Royale. The only concern is now we have a lot of situations where if you queue up on North America, you end up on Europe, unless you're queuing at peak hours on North America, and sometimes vice versa. We all get put onto the same server based on where most of the players are and the time of day that you're queuing. When you're playing from North America to Europe or vice versa, or some of you guys who are from Australia who literally don't have a server anymore, the only real weapons that you can use effectively are the hit scan weapons. Like burst rifle is the savior for a lot of you guys, I know, because for whatever reason, the way like coding works and networking, hit scan is a lot better because you don't have to, the server doesn't have to compensate and calculate the travel time of the bullet and how far away the enemy is and everything like that. It's just like, if you put the crosshair over the enemy and you click the button, yes, that means you hit them, regardless of ping and stuff and how laggy you are. As long as the crosshair looks like it's on the enemy on your screen, then you will hit them. Whereas that doesn't seem to be the case with the slug rifle and stuff like that. I know frequently when I'm playing in tournaments, which are all North American servers, playing from England, playing on Europe, the slug rifle and the crossbow feel pretty bad to use, to the point where I typically just use the burst rifle. So that's gonna be a little bit of an issue for, some of our friends who play frequently on servers that aren't their own with over 100 ping. We'll have to see how that, gets resolved. But for the most part, I think that's a pretty good change. Previously, class-specific weapons can be dropped as any color. So you can now get, as I read this, a plasma launcher, a sniper rifle, a stone spear, you name them, they can all drop as common, rare, epic, all legendary values. So you could get a green plasma launcher, which is kind of interesting. I wonder if we're going to see those be a lot more common now, since they do have a rare version of them. We saw a little bit in the video. It looks like somebody was using a plasma launcher, an assassin was using a plasma launcher, and direct hits were only dealing 600 damage, so the damage is being scaled down. Now that they're not like iconic class legendary weapons anymore, they're kind of just weapons, maybe this is a good thing. I still feel like the plasma launcher as a common or a rare weapon is going to feel more powerful than, like a legendary assault rifle or something, just because it does something completely different to other weapons. It's the only weapon that has splash damage, really. So maybe a bit strange to drop them down in rarity. Maybe they should just, even though they're not class weapons, they still should only be available to legendary value and make them rare because of how powerful they are. That's kind of my take on it. So a little bit of an unusual change there, but we'll have to see how it pans out. They're working on a melee weapon rework, so they want to make swords and daggers and maybe some other new melee weapons in the future feel more usable and more fun to use. I like that because right now the sword is a little bit of a meme. Like, you can have some good games with it, but it's generally, you don't really do it to be competitive, you just do it for fun. Golden chickens are going to drop in the world, so the chicken trophies are coming back. However, they're now going to be a currency that you can use to buy skins. So if you want to buy skins in the game for free, you just got to play games. You play games, get those chicken trophies by killing people or getting them from chests and stuff, and then you can use those to buy skins. They haven't specified like how many it is. I'm going to assume it's probably going to be quite a lot. Like whether we're looking at the hundreds or the thousands, I don't know. But yeah, you're going to be able to use chicken trophies to buy cosmetics from the store. So that's cool, you know, free stuff available to us that you only, you know, the only thing you have to do is play the game. Great change, like that. More updates on console coming soon. Yep, whatever that means. Special game modes such as 40 versus 40 coming soon. This is gonna be fun. I'm sure it's gonna be a horrible lag fest and there'll be a lot of broken things. But a 40 versus 40 or 50 versus 50. I did a little bit of this in Fortnite when it was a thing. It wasn't really super competitive, but it was a lot of fun. So just from a fun perspective, new game modes is, you know, I do miss deathmatch pretty dearly, so having something similar, well, not really similar, but having something as crazy as deathmatch coming back in, yeah, sounds fun. They may add new items or new weapons and rotate out old weapons or old items to keep the game fresh. Now this is, you know, I do feel like this is one of the reasons, we talked about it, why they're doing away with the class system. How do you keep the game fresh? How do you keep, you know, everybody interested in the game? I think somebody told me this is how Fortnite is currently handling that, is that they do this vault system. So they put a weapon in the vault and then they bring like an old weapon out in the future. So the example was like the heat-seeking rocket, the guided rocket missile thing in Fortnite. When I played, it was the new weapon in the game, and then somebody told me they got rid of it, but then it came back, and I was like, well, how does that work? And they said, well, basically, you know, the weapons that they're not happy with, that they feel are anti-fun, they lock them away for a while, and they work on them, and then they bring them back in the future when they feel like they're a bit more balanced. So, you know, maybe taking a bit of a leaf from Fortnite's book. I'm sure other games have done it before, but it sounds like a good idea, and it does sound like a way to keep the game fresh. So yeah, if we're doing away with the class system, then this is definitely going to be one of the benefits they can reap from that. They've also said they'll continue to change the map, so stuff on the map's going to be changing. New additions like the Dragon Bones, like it. Yep, new, you know, keep the map fresh. You know, maybe don't mix up everything, like don't completely change all where the chests are, because I'm sure that will upset players who, you know, they have their preferred landing spots. You want to keep some elements of the game consistent. They'll add more steep mountains that you can't go up, make for more choke points, will happen sometime in the future. So steep mountains, no more Skyrim horse up some certain mountains. I do like my Skyrim horse. I get a lot of people asking me in the chat and in the comments like, Baggins, don't you think the horse going up the hill is a bit silly? And I'm like, yeah, but it's Realm Royale, it is a bit silly. So hopefully there isn't going to be too many areas on the map, but fair enough, if it's going to make for more choke points and more dynamic fights like that, then okay. They've also said that the way they're planning to do these patches, so we've got the PTS coming hopefully today after this video at some point, and then we're gonna have a patch next week, and then a patch next week, and then a patch next week. So patches every week. Hopefully on the third and final patch, if they're happy with how everything is going, they'll be looking to polish and package the game and get ready to move it into beta. And, you know, heads up for you guys on console. I don't know if you've seen, but it's the closed beta for Realm Royale, so maybe within 3 weeks we could see the closed beta. If they're happy with how the game is going and they're ready, then they can ship it off finally to console, and closed beta can begin on there as well. I think that is probably one of the reasons why console is taking so long, is because they're still not entirely sure what the game is yet. You know, they're making some changes to it, some pretty big changes as well in terms of core mechanics, so perhaps, you know, like I say, one of the reasons why console isn't here yet is because the game isn't fully decided what it's going to be yet, so there's no point pushing a game out into console that's just going to change, you know, 2 weeks down the line and confuse all the players who are trying it out, like it has done for PC. So avoiding the problem that we've been having on PC by just waiting until the game is in a better, more finalized state for console, which, as they say, could be within the next 3 weeks, provided, you know, all of these changes in the game work out. So that's it, guys. That's it for the patch. I do desperately want to play this on PTS. I was thinking that I would combine this video then with some PTS gameplay and we'd have like a mega video to talk about. This is what I thought about previously and this is what I think about now. But looking at the length of this video, I feel like it's probably best to just cut it now and we'll do a PTS video, so some actual gameplay of these changes in the next video. So there'll be a link to that in the description down below when that gets released. And it'll also be at the end of this video on one of those little clicky card things that you can press. But yeah, guys, I know this has been a very rambly video. There's been a lot to unpack, a lot to digest. I'm interested to hear what you guys think about all these changes. Do you think they're good? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think I'm an idiot for thinking any of this could possibly be a good idea? Hopefully, some of what I've said makes sense to you guys. Initially, when I saw this and when I watched the stream, I was quite, I was in a lot of despair. I was like, oh man, they're ruining the game and they're taking away so many core mechanics. But now that I've had 24 hours to think about it, I can understand and get behind some of the changes. And ultimately, I feel like the previous version of the game that we were playing was getting pretty stale. The player numbers were dwindling, getting lower and lower each day. And if they just released a patch where it's like, hey guys, here's a new patch, we've added a class, and we've tweaked some numbers for the engineer and the slug rifle, people will be like, hey, but it's not really that exciting. So something big and drastic and extreme like this might be what Realm needs to actually get off the ground and get noticed again. And maybe, look alive and kicking for once, since it's been, a few weeks that we've slowly been curling up into a ball and moving into the corner ready to die. So, yeah, with that being said, guys, that's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you do, make sure you go ahead and click that like button. If you want more Realm content from me in the future, make sure you go ahead and click subscribe. My console cousins, I hope there's some info for you guys in the near future. I know you've been terribly patient. And hopefully we don't have to wait too much longer. Alright guys, this has been Baggins, rambling for 20-something minutes. Catch you all in the next video. Goodbye.